Hi, my name is Linn and this is the Darbin Orvar channel. Well, now when I have this built-in storage unit here, I have a lot of shelving space, which is a good problem to have. So today I'm going to be making a couple of cool boxes to help me organize some things. So let's get building. So I started out with measuring the length of my shelves, and they measure 17 inches. I'd like to be able to put 2 boxes on one shelf, so I figured 7.5 inches would be a good length for each box. For wood, I decided to use some cedar I had around, so I resawed it on the table saw in batches to get thinner stock. Once my pieces were cut, I ran them through the planer a couple of times. Now to cut the wood up, I set up a stop block on the miter saw and I cut a bunch of mitered pieces. Once I was done with one cut, I changed the stop block to get the second size done. I want the bottoms to sit inside a rabbet in the boxes, so I'm using the router table here to make a groove with the thickness of the wood. Time to glue the boxes together. I'm using some masking tape to secure the sides together. Then flip around, put down some glue, and fold the box together. This technique works really well with miter corners, which can be a little tricky to get right. Then just checking for square and repeating with the remaining 2 boxes. Now I'm going to use this Spline Jig here to add some splines, and I've got 2 test pieces gluing up so I can try it out before using it on my boxes. So you put the box in here and just run it through. So after setting it up and doing some tests, I'm using it here on the boxes. I've set it up with a 1/4 inch bit here and it's really simple to use. Then adjusting the jig for the second cut. For the splines, I'm cutting up a piece of maple here, and I've got strips. So putting one in, measuring, and then cutting up a bunch of small pieces. Then gluing them in. Some were just a touch too thick, so I'm sanding them down so they'll go in a little easier. For the splines here, I was first planning on using walnut, but then I was thinking, and cedar darkens quite a bit over time and as you finish it, so I decided to go with lighter instead, using some maple. For the bottoms, I'm gluing the end grain to account for wood movement over time, and then just adding a couple of tack nails. And here we have the boxes. It looks pretty cool with the splines like this. Once they had dried, I used a Japanese saw to cut them off. And the trick is to try to not cut too closely, but give yourself a little room to sand them down instead so you don't scratch the wood. Then I sanded the boxes. And here you can also see I glued on a couple of maple pieces for feet to match the splines. Now to finish the boxes, I decided to go with shellac. I think shellac is a little underutilized. It's a natural finish, it dries really quickly, and it always comes out really nice. Once that had dried, I applied some wax polish with steel wool to completely smoothen out the surface and add a soft finish. And then buffing it out. For a finishing touch, I'm adding some label holders and just measuring out the center here. Then pre-drilling lightly and screwing in. And that looks really nice. Now it's just a matter of bringing them in and filling them up. Okay, so the boxes are up and full of things and looking good. I was thinking about this. I mean, these are really simple boxes. There aren't a whole lot to them. Yet the splines add such a nice detail, and the label holder too, and of course the little feet. But it's often these little finishing touches that make a big difference. And then of course, I mean, I used cedar and maple, but you could use any wood you'd like. So yeah, I could definitely use a couple of more. You can't really have too many of these, and I think that's true for a lot of people, so not a bad gift idea there either. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and don't forget to subscribe if this is your first time here so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. If you have any thoughts about this project, I'd like to hear about it. Leave me a comment below. Otherwise, thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.